Traditional libertarianism, which is quite different from American libertarianism, was a continuation of classical liberalism. Libertarianism originated on the left and was opposed to the master-servant relationship, whether it be between a lord and a serf, a government and a citizen, or a capitalist and a worker. In short, traditional libertarianism was essentially the anti-statist wing of the socialist movement. It's true that traditional libertarianism is skeptical of state power, but has a broader fight against hierarchy, including capitalism, a system in which a tiny minority rule over the majority. Traditional libertarians understood destroying the state while leaving the capitalist system intact would do no good, since you would end up replacing one hierarchical institution with another. In the 1950s, the term libertarian began to take on its current right-wing meaning. In his book, The Betrayal of the American Right, Murray N. Rothbard wrote, "One gratifying aspect of our rise to some prominence is that, for the first time in my memory, we, our side, had captured a crucial word from the enemy. Libertarians had long been simply a polite word for left-wing anarchists, that is, for anti-private property anarchists, either of the communist or syndicalist variety. But now we have taken it over." The current incarnation of American libertarianism believes in three distinct principles. The first is a hardline approach to civil liberties, believing an individual is free to do whatever they'd like unless it infringes on the rights of another. Therefore, libertarians believe in the legalization of drugs, the unregulated sale of firearms, and marriage equality. The second principle is the non-aggression principle, which asserts that aggression is inherently wrong, but does not forbid forceful defense. This means that libertarians generally call for a massive reduction in military spending and the U.S.'s role as a global enforcer. Current U.S. libertarianism, in these two respects, is consistent with traditional libertarianism. However, it is the third principle, that of economics, which traditional libertarians consider a perversion of the ideology. Traditional libertarians sought to abolish capitalism and private ownership of the means of production in favor of cooperative ownership. They argue that capitalism creates non-egalitarian markets with extreme wealth and power concentrated in a very small sector of the population, creating an undemocratic autocracy. Anarchist Rudolf Rocker addressed the futility of eliminating the state while leaving the capitalist system intact, saying, "Democracy, with its motto of equality of all citizens before the law, and liberalism, with its right of man over his own person, were both wrecked on the realities of the capitalist economy. As long as millions of human beings in every country have to sell their labor to a small minority of owners and sink into the most wretched misery if they can find no buyers, the so-called equality before the law remains merely a pious fraud, since the laws are made by those who find themselves in possession of social wealth. But in the same way, there can be no talk of a right over one's own person, for that right ends when one is compelled to submit to the economic dictation of another if one does not want to starve." The current form of libertarianism, spearheaded by the business class, was a retaliation to FDR's New Deal policies and the wide acceptance of Keynesian economics, government spending, and broad social programs that kept the wealth in the hands of those who created it. At the forefront of this movement was Friedrich von Hayek of the Mont Pelerin Society and Milton Friedman, both of whom served as inspirations for Ronald Reagan and Margaret Thatcher, who ushered in the current neoliberal system under which we all exist. They helped popularize the current strand of libertarianism, which is in favor of submitting to total tyranny, namely corporations. The modern corporation is a state-created legal fiction of unaccountable, hierarchical domination, the antithesis of traditional libertarianism, which sought democratic control of institutions, including the workplace. Traditional libertarians thought workers should have a say in what is produced, how it is produced, and how it is distributed. So to a classical liberal, wage labor under capitalism would have been considered immoral because it frustrates the fundamental need of people to control their own work. Current libertarians, who embrace free market capitalism, are happy to take orders from above and carry them out from below, while traditional libertarians didn't want capitalists managing their lives any more than the state. As it stands now, the state enforces the economic hierarchy. Under the U.S. system, the government and capitalism are not opponents, but rather twin pillars of control. It's safe to say that American libertarianism, which opposes one form of hierarchy but not the other, is radically anti-libertarian. In his book Demanding the Impossible, A History of Anarchism, Peter Marshall criticized the contemporary libertarian ideology, saying, "It is tailor-made for rugged individualists who do not care about the damage to others or the environment which they leave in their wake. The forces of the market cannot provide genuine conditions of freedom any more than the powers of the state. The victims of both are equally enslaved, alienated, and oppressed." Thanks for watching.